right. Hi, everyone. Just wait for people to get checked in here. We'll get started. Hi, Laura. Hey, everyone. Great to see you coming on here. We'll give everybody just a minute or two before I get started. I'm excited about this. It's overdue, long overdue. Hope everyone's having a great day. That's right. Drink more plants and drink more water, right, Laura? Hey, Chelsea. You're welcome. As far as saving this as a recording so other people can see it later, there's just a finish button on the bottom. I'm assuming that I just hit that and it'll just save it and record it. If anybody knows if I need to do anything different, let me know. I think I saw somebody on the announcement post say that it will stay in Facebook until I delete it, so I'm not planning on deleting it. So anybody that knows somebody that wanted to be on and couldn't be, just direct them to it. And anybody can add anybody to this group, the Mechanic to Millionaire Facebook group. I love these little icons that go across. That's so cool. Welcome, everyone. We'll get started here in just a minute. Hello, as you're coming on. If anybody's, yeah, it will save. Okay, great. Let's see who just said that. Oh, Chelsea. Okay, so you guys know how to do these. So I'll just hit finish at the end and it'll be recorded. Awesome. Thanks, Melissa. Hey, Aaron. Talk about a rock star with Facebook Live. It's great to see you on here. Good morning. Oh, you can go back. So Melissa's saying that you can go back and tag people after it's over. If they're a member of the group or not a member of the group, it's not a private group. It's a public group, but they can't add themselves. So I know other members can add other members. There's no administration or admin that needs to do that unless somebody adds the group themselves. But if a friend of the group already adds them, I think it just puts them in. Okay, I'll give it another minute or two. There's still some people joining. Good morning. Well, thank you, Robin. That made my day. Hi, Laura. Okay, I'm going to get started. As I've been traveling around, especially doing this last trip into Tirana, there were some people that showed me their vision boards, and they're not their board, but they had them on their phone. They had, some of them were carrying cards. And one of the things that I've noticed, especially in the environment it was with work. And I know that people that are in this group aren't aligned in the same type of industry or work that I do, but I'm going to use it from my frame of reference, and I'll try to interject different examples of how that could be done, like in a workplace environment, maybe owning your own business or something like that. But I'm going to do it from my personal experience, which can just be paralleled with what you're doing. So when I was at this event, people using the same vehicle, a home-based business, to try and get ahead in life and live the life of their dreams. As they were showing me their vision boards and their cards, I saw a lot of them had the vacations, the homes, the cars, relationships, which is great, but I often see that they don't have the value that they're going to add to other people's lives in order to be able to have those things. Those things are a result. The things that people are putting on their boards are strictly a result. And there's no law of compensation that's in there. So in order to get something, you have to give something. Now, I'm not saying that you can't put down the home and the car and just those things without adding the law of compensation. You can, but you don't know how they're going to come back to you. It's going to be maybe in a way that you didn't intentionally mean for it to happen. Like if you have a car on there and then you get in an accident, nobody's hurt, but your car is totaled, and your insurance maybe will cover the cost of the car, maybe it won't, but now you're forced to get a new car, and the car that you're looking for, you'll find the one that you might even have. More than likely, you'll find the exact car that you have on your vision board, but you may have to buy it on credit still. So since we weren't detailed and direct and definitive on how we wanted to have that car come into our lives to receive it, it just went ahead and answered it based on different subconscious paradigm, factors. So you got the car, but it wasn't the most ideal situation, but you're happy you got the car. You'll always be happy, but was it the perfect scenario? And so when we're setting up our dream life, we want to get to the details. Like in the movie Phenomenon, John Travolta, when he's talking with the investigator's asking him questions, and Travolta just answers him back like very simple, basic questions. And they weren't the answers that the investigator was looking for. And then he said, well, specifics, Bob, give me specifics. And that's what we need to put down on our 3x5 cards, the specifics. So we start out with the fantasy. Bob Proctor calls it fantasy to fact. And when we start building the fantasy, it's going to use our imagination, and it will be more of a basic concept or image of what that is. It's not super detailed. But then once we start to theorize that fantasy, we start to build it out, and we start to become more definitive, more decisive, more factual and intentional. So one example of putting some things down and not knowing the vehicle that I had. So when I gave the presentation at Celebration for our company, I shared my example of my dream book. So here's the dream book right here. This is the dream book. And I didn't know what the vehicle was at the time. That I had an idea, like I had some ideas of what the vehicle could possibly be, but I wasn't super attached to that. And what I wrote out based on what I had learned in that dream workshop was getting details to the person that I want to be, that I want to have, do, and be, and not just on a vague sense. So I actually wrote out, paragraph after paragraph. Here we are. Here's the famous picture of my family standing in front of the home that I would drive by that represented a home like the one that we wanted. And I forgot to mention on Celebration stage, I didn't realize it until a couple years later, we actually moved into the same neighborhood that this house is in. So again, no coincidences, but you can see the paragraphs that I wrote. Now that was after writing notebooks, like pages and pages, like on a legal pad, of getting clear and what does all that look like, and putting words behind the theory that I had for my life, right? The imagination that I was using and how I wanted my life to be. And so then I put down the best of the best in the book. And then I read that every day. And I even have there's some penciling down here that I wanted to add at the bottom after I had the book printed out. And I'll show you how that works with the 3x5 cards. So here's different pages of notes and different things around my dreams, my dream vacation, what kind of service did I want to offer to other people, the dream home, what was that like? And as I go back and read it this morning, it is like, except for maybe one or two minute things, everything is represented in the house that we have on that page about the house. Some other things, like here's the picture of me standing behind the podium, wanting to make an impact in people's lives. And it says, the person I am is best described in the list of character traits that I believe in. So I'm not going to have to give up the greatest values that I have and hold dearly, that I've learned and that I haven't let go. Like, I found that those values and the principles that I've learned as a child growing up in my family, going to church, going to school, that they served me. And I didn't want to violate my integrity to those values. I got clear on what those values are. And here it's, this is who I am being. Look at all the pages. But that's the best of the notebooks that I had written out. Not notebooks, but lots of pages. I'm sure they would have added up to notebooks. They still do. So these are my values and virtues. My values are those things I believe in doing, of living. My virtues are the things that I believe in being. These are the principles upon which I place the highest significance and priority. My highest values and the character traits that I will not violate are my virtues. So this helps to set up the why. When you start to, like they say, your why is what motivates you and will give you the motivation and to work through any challenges because you want that why so much. This is setting up the foundation of that, deciding I am my word. I am what I say I am. That's the two headings on that page. And so I had to sit there and meditate and think about, what does that mean to me? Who am I? What is it about my word that I hold that I will never forsake, even if, even in the peril of death? So, and then on the other pages, this is who I am being, this is who I am. And I wrote out the 4 paragraphs based on the pages and pages that I had creatively wrote, and like doing a research paper and writing out a whole bunch of stuff and then putting it into a final draft. This was the final draft, but there really is no final draft because there's no end. There's no finish line. So I don't recommend really making a book. You could if you want, but it's going to evolve. And I'll show you how my 3x5s, I've made so many of them, and they constantly are evolving. So one of the headings is my vision. Another one, my mission. Okay? My mission is the culmination of all the things that I believe, all of my roles, all of my visions. I am my vision and my mission. So I had to get clear on these things so that as I'm pursuing something on a daily basis, I'm in harmony with these things. And this is what you were born to be. Like 2 important days in your life, the day you're born and the day you discover why you were born. This goes along with that, and it sets up the foundation. It helps you to discover that when you find the vehicle that's in harmony with these principles, your enthusiasm never lessens. You never had a hard time getting excited and enthusiastic about what you're engaged in when, I'll say the universe, and I'll explain that in a minute. It's really God. God has woven into the fabric of the universe, his universe, the principle of cause and effect. So when I get my life in harmony with the reason for why I'm born, which I'm now writing out and getting very clear on, it's not just handed to you. Nobody decides for you what your core values and virtues are and the things that you'll never forsake. You have to decide what those are and get clear on them. And then when that vehicle shows up, because you've gotten clear on it and you're assuming it as already fulfilled, you never get tired of it. You never lose enthusiasm for it. It's your why. And the vehicle has come up, and that divine door has opened and lined you up with the vehicle, the company, the work, the career that you're involved with, maybe your philanthropic plans for yourself. The divine door opens up when you get really clear on these things and matches you up better than you could have ever matched yourself up in going out and trying to find the vehicle. So look at where my life was. I knew what my core values always were and are but yet I was so far away from my goals and being in harmony with who I was because I wasn't doing the things that were necessary on my side. So every single one of us have our core values and our virtues and the things that we won't forsake. Write them down, get clear on them. Don't just think that you have a great understanding of them. Put words to them, okay? It's so important because it's going to help you in harmonizing with the vehicle, your career, the things you're doing on a daily basis. So I just went page after page, just reiterating those in different scenarios. The freedom, I am a man, so what does that mean? I am a man with talents, interests, strengths, responsibilities, and roles to live my life so as to honor my humanity and my heritage. And then I wrote out paragraph after paragraph around that and getting clear. So as I'm doing this, it's in the law of attraction is taking these thoughts and these feelings, because I read this every morning and every night, twice a day, without fail, every day. I'm sending out an energy. I'm sending out my order. And again, I'll say to the universe, but it's God's universe, right? So I'm sending out my prayer, what's in my heart. And what is it doing? It's attracting back to me things that resonate with that. And it matched me up with the vehicle that I could have never had blueprinted out and set up for myself in my life. It matched me up with it perfectly because I was perfectly clear on who I was, what I wanted to represent, and how I wanted to make an impact in the world, right? So now the vehicle showed up and I started learning more things about the laws and how to do my affirmations better. So I want to jump into that now. But you can't, you're not going to get the full strength and results that you want without getting clear on those things. So I wanted to share that first. So there's some work and some effort. How many people will do that? Rod Harrison in the program Healthy Mind and Body says 1% will make it to day 40. So yeah, are you a 1%er? Only you can decide because you're the only one that has 100% of the decision of whether or not you'll make it to day 40, day 50, day 60 in that program. All right, so I'm going to just turn the camera here a little bit. Well, actually, let's see if I can. This is a little bit older set of 3x5s that I put together with statements that would be surrounded around those things that harmonize with my things that are in my book about what I got clear on who I am and who I want to be. So these statements, but these are in alignment with the vehicle that showed up in my life because of that book. So the company Isagenix showed up in my life because it fulfilled every desire that I had in that book perfectly. So this is my more recent one that I'm working on now. I carry them both around me because this one has some great pictures on the back that I still utilize that are going into the evolving of these 3x5s into this one. Okay, so let me just explain that for a second. And the 3x5s they don't have a goal date on them. They're, for many of you who are students of the law, maybe listen to the podcast, we're talking about assuming the wish fulfilled now here. This is not something I'm going to be. I'm going to write it down as an already accomplished fact. And so I'm going to write things out and come up. I'm going to start with the fantasy, and then that fantasy is going to turn to fact, and I'm going to build it out, okay? So I am so happy and grateful now that, and then you fill in the blank. So a couple things that I want to say about that real quick. I was listening to Bob Proctor this morning, and I took some notes. Let's see, can you see that? Where's my notebook? This is hard. Let me turn this around. So here's my notebook just from listening to Bob Proctor for about 5 minutes this morning, okay? To get a little clearer on what I wanted to share with you. So it first starts out with the fantasy, and that's a creative process that absolutely requires your imagination. So Will Smith says you have to be delusional to create the kind of success that I have in my life as an actor. Will Smith said that. And so it's all imagination. It was like Jim Carrey writing out a check for himself for $1 million for being the star leading role in a movie, which didn't happen yet. He was like a busboy at a restaurant, but he carried that check in his back pocket. That's pretty delusional, right? You got to use your imagination to even come up with something like that. So the imagination is totally required because it's not something that you know how to do yet. Like, let's say you put a new car on your vision board. You already know how to buy a car, so that's really not a fantasy. It's something that you already know the process, and you can do that. You want to have things on your car that you don't know how to do. So like for an example, I just, this is going to go on the back of one of my cards. It's the Nobel Prize Award. Okay, so it's the little, I don't know what his name is, something Nobel. And I cut it out. I did a little Google image, and it's going to go on my card. And I'm going to win the Nobel Prize for making an impact in people's lives. Okay, fundamental, practical change. How's that going to happen? I have no idea. It's a fantasy in my head right now. Now, that fantasy, he says, you start to, well, he says, he quotes Van Gogh, and Van Gogh says, they asked him, how does he paint such beautiful paintings? And he says, I dream my painting, and then I paint my dream. So you're getting this idea, this theory, this fantasy of, what does that mean? What would I have to do to get the Nobel Prize for making an impact in people's lives? Like Mother Teresa, she got the Nobel Prize, right, for the impact that she's made in the world. So, now, because I know what the vehicle is now, I know what the vehicle is, and many of you know what your vehicle is that you're going to gain financial freedom from to be able to help you build your dream life. We live in an economy where you have to purchase things, right? We can buy things, we can use things, but it's going to take money and transactions. So and not in every case does it have to be money on your 3x5 card. Like Mother Teresa, she doesn't have to make money to do what she's doing. So you can build a fantasy and turn it into a fact and it not be around money. But I'm sharing, in this case, so many people have on their vision boards just the things that they're wanting as a result, the car, the house, the vacation, the lifestyle, the time freedom. But they're not utilizing the law of compensation on their 3x5 cards. And I know that they know the vehicle because they're at the event where I explain this. They're in Isagenix, but there's nothing about Isagenix on their 3x5 card. So that's incomplete. You have to offer value to somebody in order to get something in return. And all of the things that I see on people's 3x5 cards, 99% of the time, they're needing to make a transaction. To get on the airplane, to go to that, that vacation resort, that's going to cost money. To live in that house, that's going to take money, right? But they don't have anything on the value that they're visualizing as an already accomplished fact with the vehicle that they're in, Isagenix, their home-based business. So I'm going to see if I can, what I'll do is take one of my 3x5 cards, a little bit older one, and then I redesigned one this morning to show you how they evolve. So while I was at the event, this is my business one with the pictures on it, okay? Now, I'm coming from the frame of reference from my Isagenix business and the commissions that are received from this home-based business. What I did is I went into Google, and I'll show that at the end for those that want to see how do I Google things, how do I find the things and use that as part of my creative process to get them on this little 3x5 card, right? I also use 8.5 by 11. So this is just a regular printing paper. And you can see all the writing in there, how it evolves and it grows out. I don't use a vision board. I can't carry that around with me and have it in front of me and connect with it on a regular basis. Sometimes people hang things on the wall, even in the bathroom. I've hung things on the bathroom, and when I wasn't as committed, I'd go in and brush my teeth and never even notice that the vision paper was on my bathroom mirror. That's not going to help. So the way that I wrote it's called the law of compensation. In order to get something in return, you have to give something of value. And that value has to be more than what the person pays in dollar amount. So if it's a product or service, I've got a product, I'm going to share that product with you, you're going to pay me. They've got to get more value as an individual, as a customer, than what they paid me in dollar value. Charles Handel says, if you're not in a business, where you're adding value to somebody, where you're basically ripping them off, you're charging them more than there is value, get out of it at once, because you're totally breaking the law of compensation. And although you don't know it, negative results are going to come back on you. Companies that break the law of compensation, if they do it illegally, they always get caught. There's always a negative consequence that comes from it, no matter how diligent they are at trying to hide that and conceal it. The law of compensation will always pay you back. There's a consequence, just like the law of gravity. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time, but there's no way to escape it, no matter how careful you are. So in my business, I believe that I add way more value to people's lives than what they're paying me in dollar value for the products. So I have goals and I have dreams, right? In the beginning, it was having enough money to get through the month. It was being able to go to dinner and a movie with my wife at the same time. It was being able to go on vacations and stay in the hotels rather than staying with somebody or my parents, you know, with my family, taking them to my parents' house because we couldn't afford a hotel and the trip. So there were these things that were on my 3x5 cards. These are my more recent ones. So they're going to be evolved, but it's still the same principle. So for me, instead of, and I'll show you where I do have the house, like this is a new one that I just built out this morning, and I'll show you that one. I will, where I'm at now, my biggest thing is not about having things that they're still there, but I want to make the impact, the thing that I've always wanted to do, make the impact, the reason for why I was born. So I have a picture of the world in hands. And to me, those are my hands. And I'm giving back to God at my day of accountability. And I'm saying, here's what I did. Here's what I did to serve other people and make their lives better, or help them to discover, you know, how to make their lives better. And so right here, there's a little picture of the kitten looking in the mirror and seeing the lion. Okay, that's what I feel like I do for people. That is what I do for people. I help them to become more than they currently are and lift the lid off so that they can be much more than they are. See, the value, you can create with your imagination as much value as you can creatively think of. It's got to be an integrity, but some people will say, well, that product costs too much, and they're an associate in the company. Well, they use their imagination and their creative reasoning ability to come to that decision and made it true for themselves. So they might not be able to come up with something like this that's related to this particular business, because that's where their paradigm took them. They listened to other people. They didn't do it in a proactive, positive way that served them, because there's always an opposite in all things. There's a negative and a positive, or an opposition in all things. So yeah, if I can think this way about our products and our services, somebody could think the exact opposite. That's the law. There has to be that ability to do that. And what it does is that doesn't serve them. And so they're not going to have the success. And so it should teach them that they're doing something wrong. And they feel disappointed. They feel discouraged. They feel sad. They feel frustrated. They feel victimized. Those are telling you you've done something wrong. Now, if they don't have a mentor that's going to teach them these things, and they're not open to it, then they'll just keep doing that, okay, from cradle to grave. But everybody has the opportunity, and you could make your vision of the value that you're adding to somebody bigger than mine. So, you know, what about the Nobel Prize going right there with that, because of the impact that I'm making in people's lives? Okay, so I could do that, right? It's up to me. If it's going to be, it's up to me. So there's where I'm adding the value of what I'm doing for people. Now, most people would have on their vision boards just that right there, the house. That's a cottage in Europe. This is a home in Newport Beach, okay? On one of my cards, I have a picture of when I was in high school, and I wanted to get back to that shape right there. So they may have pictures of themselves, you know, with their face over somebody who just won Miss Universe or Mr. Olympia or whatever. Here I am in motocross, right? And I put a first place. I put a first place here. Here I am standing at the top on the podium, getting a trophy. Here's you know, something that I wanted to be able to accomplish, doing a whip, going off of a jump, going sideways. These are the kinds of things that are in most people's vision boards. But where's the contribution that I'm adding to other people? I could accomplish these things because I have them on the vision board, but I might still be a broke mechanic that doesn't have time freedom. But these things will happen if I do them right. They'll show up in my life and I'll literally do those things. But I want to finish it off. I want to be intentional and I want to create the life that I design for myself. Details, specifics, Bob, right? And as an example, Casey Pluff, she might even be on here. I know some of her team, I'm sure, is. Because when she started learning these laws, she played at 100%. She was a 1%er. And she did it. And she took the time to get it all out there and then committed to doing it every day. And then her business took off. I mean, like it skyrocketed. And she was getting recognized for it as well. And so was her bank account. But she got super, super stressed because of how busy she was changing people's lives. And so we had a little chat and I said, well, why did you design that into your vision? Why did you write that into your story? And she's like, had that aha moment. That's all it took for her because she understood the laws. Like, oh yeah, I could even design how busy I am and how I can effectively change people's lives. Do I have to do it myself? Or can I find other ways of making that happen for other people, other lives being transformed? And now she takes pictures of herself with her feet and her legs looking out over the ocean or looking out over a pool or over a lake. She's been able to design that stress out of her life. Even though it was positive stress in a way that she was busily engaged in changing people's lives, it still didn't serve her to be that busy and that stressed. But she could still impact people's lives just as significantly and even more significantly without being busy, stressful busy on the physical body, the mental mind. So what's important to remember then, so this card doesn't really have a lot of my dreams that I started out with, you know, the dinner and the movie and going on the vacations and things like that, because I have everything that I want. As far as things go, there isn't anything that I couldn't have right now because of, you know, the income that's coming in. So now there's a higher, grander dream that I have for myself and I focus on that more. So I put, you know, this and this here. Now this has always been the center of my vision board once the vehicle showed up. So if you have a traditional job and you love that job, then maybe it's about time for you to break out and not be an employee, but to start your own business and to have your own franchises and be able to treat the employees better than you're being treated and how they're treated where you work now. Maybe make more of a Google-like environment where you have things that are there to add more value and comfort to your employees as you grow this business that you love doing, right? So you would do the same thing that would parallel with what I've done with my Isagenix business. So here is a thing that they have. It's on the internet, and they show the ranking in platinum of different people that 1 through 10. Okay, and so what I did is I photoshopped my picture at number 3 in the top 10 platinum earners. So that would be the top 10 in the company. And here I Googled Jim and Kathy Coover. I mean, you just got to be creative, right? Use your imagination. There's no limit. And so I just Googled Isagenix, Jim and Kathy Coover. I wanted a picture of them on the stage that in my mind I had envisioned, and I've seen so many times in real life, them congratulating people on the stage. Well, I Googled Jim and Kathy Coover, like awards ceremony or something, or stage, and here they are looking at who's coming up on stage. They just announced the winner or somebody who's being recognized for an advancement. That's them looking at me coming up because I've just been recognized as number 3 platinum income earner, you know? And so that helps me to connect with that as an already accomplished fact. This is not something that I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? Or when this happens? No, that's not how you do your affirmations. It takes a discipline of the mind. The highest achievement that you can achieve is disciplining your thoughts and feelings. So I have to discipline my mind to believe this as an already accomplished fact with the feelings behind it. So I'm going to have different things that are going to help jog me as triggers to induce that feeling. So I have things written on the other side that I'm going to read that are, so I don't forget. Like, these are the things that I've taken the best of the best and I put them on the 3x5. I didn't just pull something out of the air and then put it on the 3x5. I worked to get to that statement in the way that it's written. So then I'm also going to put the pictures. Everybody's visual. Everybody's right-brained as well. Now this is the banks that I go to. This is my first entry. And if you're familiar, like this would be your paycheck if you have a job and they give you a paycheck. For us, we can know what our commissions are every day in our back office on the website when we log into our own personal back office. And it shows you where you're at for the day. And it does it by weeks. And then right here is the current. Look how many times I've scribbled it out, like just trying to refine it, make it better, make it more profound for myself. So what I had was 300 cycles a week on my first entry. And $13,500 is going into my bank account every week because I'm at 300 or more cycles every week. See, 13,500 and what does it say? 13,525. That's what it comes out to because that does happen for me. So I know what that amount is. This is my reentry. So once you hit that amount, I'm not going to stop there. Like, what's next? Yeah, I can afford everything I want because I'm making, close to over 50,000 a month. But what's next? Don't stop there. So many people stop connecting with their why when they've accomplished it in Isagenix. They get comfortable. It happens with top income earners and it happens with people who make an extra $200 a week. So my next is having a re-entry that's also making $13,525 a week. And this is the bank account that's going to go into. So I have a corporation for both of these. So that's going to go into that bank. That's going to go into that bank. You got to get to the specifics, Bob, right? Where am I going to withdraw that money from? Where's the company loading it into every week? And so the cycles would dictate that I'm getting paid that much every week. And what does that mean? Where's the value for that? Because it's not just the dollars. Dollars they're not alive. There's no contribution I could give to money. It's just a thing. The contribution I'm giving is over here and here. Right? Making a difference in people's lives. This has always got to be on your card along with the dollar amount. And so then I'm writing out the legs on my downline, my team that I'm building, my organization, and I write little things with them. It's awesome. I just wrote, it's awesome. Wouldn't that be awesome to have both my positions making $13,525 a week? And I put facilitator with that. It's not about me. It's about me connecting to my core values and then allowing God to work through me with my prayers being answered to facilitate the change in people's lives. Everything I do is always tied back to God. It's my greatest motivator. It's my greatest why. Now, it could be something for you. It could be, having the dinner and a movie, having enough money to get through the month. Yeah, I could start out with that. But there's a process of going to a higher level of refinement and vibrations and reasons for why we do that. I'll never satisfy this. That could be 4 centers maxed out, making $400,000 a week. And I could still go to the next level with that. If I'm just going for dinner and a movie, then I'll hit that at $100 a month or $100 a week in my company, an extra $100 a week, right? So everything I do always it's tied back to God. This right here, it says, this was something I wrote down after I'd been reading a book and listening to some audios. It says 60, 80, and 100 percenters. That goes along with Jim Rohn's Your First Year in Network Marketing, where he talks about the parable of the sower. I don't want any seeds falling by the wayside. I don't want the birds coming in and getting them and carrying them off and you can't get a hold of them ever again. They disappear. I want people who are producing fruit when they partner up with me. And that could be with them using the products. But in this particular case, I want people who are going to have a great product experience and they're going to get passionate and they're going to be highly motivated and they're going to start dedicating their life to this business. And it's going to bless their lives because of that. So I want 60, 80, and 100 percenters, people who are producing fruit, not people who are sucking my energy out of me, right? And always complaining. Because I get to decide what kind of people I want to have show up in my life. So that's just Now, what does that mean to me? I've written pages and pages on what does a 60, 80, and 100%er look like to me. What are they doing with their time? How are they engaged? I don't see them sitting on the couch with their feet up watching TV. Okay? I don't see them coming up with excuses as to why they didn't get to the company event. These are 60, 80, and 100%ers, and they're the people that I work with that help me to facilitate more of this in the world. Okay, so this is my most recent one that I just did. I just went ahead and moved me to the #1 position and put it in the top 10 consistently. That says 13 star right there. I just typed in 13 star in Google Images, and it's just a cool little 13 pointed star. That would be 2 maxed out centers. Now, what I did on one of my cards, one of the things that Bob says is, as you're building out your fantasy, it's going to be an evolving process. So maybe my card starts out like this and what I wrote down. Whoops, it's upside down. And what I wrote down, and I'll read this to you, what I wrote with these pictures on the back. But what's going to happen is, as I'm reading it, it's going to build out more. I'm going to come up with better ideas. So there was one, let's see, on my newer card. So here was the front. It actually started out with one sentence and then this here with the legs. And what happened is, as I was reading it and looking at these pictures here, more ideas came to me as to what does that look like what's going on. So here, I found this on Google. It says success stories. So I just went ahead and added that to the front side. And something else that came up for me was, why don't I just have 7-figure annual income earners on all of my legs? So my left and right leg on my first position, I put 7-figure annual income earner. 7-figure annual income earner. This is my re-entry position for the second 13,000 a week. 7-figure annual income earner. Okay, they're there. Not going to be there. In my mind, they're there. And so what I thought was, well, there would be a lot of success stories going on, and my group would be growing exponentially so fast that I wouldn't know everybody in it. So I put this right here to be a representation, because remember, we've always got to have this going on. There's got to be value added into other people's lives. So success stories is an indicator or a trigger of that. And I wrote, now this didn't happen. I looked at this day after day. I was looking at the pictures and I did it every day. And as I'm doing it, ideas come to my mind. And so I write them down. When the good ideas come that make me really feel it, like I'm sitting here, I'm reading it. I may close my eyes. I may have some music going in the background. Sometimes it's rocky. Sometimes it's some spa music, just depending what mood I'm in. And I start living that experience. And I'm like, wow, there's people being introduced on the stage in my downline that are now millionaires in the company, and I didn't even know they were in my group. And I'm like, let me write that down, because I love that. I could see myself sitting in the event at Celebration with tens of thousands of people. I'm sitting in there, and they're recognizing millionaire number 400, whatever it is, right? And that person is coming to the stage, and they're given the microphone to share, what is it like to be millionaire number 400? And so I'm just sitting there cheering them on, yeah, way to go. And so they're introduced. They're saying, oh, I'm just so grateful for Stephanie Jones for mentoring me. And I'm like, wait, Stephanie Jones, she's in my organization. That person's in my organization. They're a millionaire I didn't even know. And I'm living into that moment. I'm at the theater right now watching this, and I'm seeing it from my own eyes. And that's assuming the wish fulfilled. That creates a vibration within me. And that vibration is what it causes the law of attraction. So as I do that enough, Stephanie's the 7-figure income earner. Now, I may not put a name to it, but Stephanie, I'm not tied to who that 7-figure income earner is. But if I want to have the cottage in Europe and the beach house in Newport Beach, then I need to be 13 star, okay?
I want to be 13 star. I desire to be 13 star to be able to pay for those houses cash. And I just created and designed in my life a 7-figure annual income earner, and I saw the specifics. Dave saw the specifics. Not in how's that going to happen, or when's that going to happen, or go do the meeting, or get somebody on the products and I think they're going to be the 7-figure income earner. I'm not attached to that. I'm in the moment focused now, helping people and doing the things that the day demands of me. But in my mind, I'm always here. And when I'm not here, I try to catch myself and get back to here. So that way, in case that person returns their products, it doesn't affect me. Because I know that I know what I need to be doing according to law, the principle of visualization, the law of attraction. I know that I know that I know that I'm doing what I need to be doing for that person to eventually show up. I know they're on their way. Because they have to be. That's the consequence of what I'm doing. It's like jumping off and I want to hit the ground. I'm going to jump off the roof and I want to hit the ground. I'll just jump off and I'll hit the ground. If I wanted to have this happen, I got to do this, right? So what I wrote after coming out of that meditation moment where I had never thought that before, it all of a sudden was a new thought. It was a new idea. It was a theory that was becoming more concrete to me. That's infinite intelligence, the Holy Spirit that knows everything that I need to know as an individual to make this happen. The way to fly, it's always been known by infinite intelligence, by God who's omnipotent, and his communication system is the Holy Spirit to us. And it knows exactly what I need. I just need to be open to it. The Wright brothers were the ones who opened themselves up the most, didn't even have the financial backing of other huge corporations to go ahead and utilize all the manufacturing. The Wright brothers were tapped in, just like I get tapped in. And they figured out how to fly in face of all of the odds because it told them what to write into the blueprint. And they did it. They listened to that voice. They didn't just think, oh, I'll remember that, and then fell asleep. And then they forgot about it. Like, oh, I don't remember the detail of that. What was it? I was thinking something last night. Don't do that. Write it down, especially in that meditation moment. So what I wrote down coming out of that, and I just picked a place where I had room on my 3x5 card because I knew that that was a big one. It's one that I want to connect with every day now. So many stories of transformation and success, I can't keep up awareness of them all. I am continually in gratitude. My goal is accomplished. The goal that I had to be 13 star, right? Lifting the lid exponentially. There's this. There's that right there. I stated it in there, the law of compensation, lifting the lid exponentially. Well, how could I make that? That's a very profound statement to me. Why? Because I read this book right here, The 5 Levels of Leadership, and this one, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. It talks about lifting the lid off so that there's no limitations in my life anymore. And as a leader, I could lift the lid off of other people. Well, I know that the vehicle I have, and with my help, I could lift the lid off of people and they could surpass me. The sky's not the limit. Your imagination is. So I built that in because I habitually do that now because I understand the importance of the law of compensation, just like I do the law of gravity. I wrote it in. I'm lifting the lid. Now, I put exponentially. That means it's not my own efforts. Who was it? I can't remember the guy's name. He said, I'd rather have 1% of 100 people's efforts than 100% of my own, because 100 people can communicate to a lot more people. So exponentially means that it's geometrically progressing, and it's progressing through the 7-figure income earners team, which they would have tens of thousands of people on their team to be making that kind of income. Lifting the lid exponentially. And I don't even have to directly be dealing with them. The fact that I'm doing that will go out and influence other people to get on that 7-figure income earners team. It'll influence that 7-figure income earner to find me or I find them. It happens in the unseen. It's that web that's weaved through the law of attraction. And then So some other things that I wrote just to make sure that I didn't forget that. I keep seeing my re-entry team members on the stage and not knowing who they are personally, not having a personal relationship with them. I am 13-star platinum, right there. My success impacts other people, right there. My success impacts other people. What kind of success? This kind of success. This kind of success. 13-star, top 15. So as I rewrote this, I took some of the things that I had. This is my new card. It's on a little bit bigger card, just so I could show it all at once. This is 3x5. I don't know what size this is. It's the next step up. So I have the success stories. Now you notice there's no writing on here, but I actually have the cottage in Europe. That's a motivating factor for me, just like it was to have enough money to get through the month when I first got started. The beach in Newport. There's God sitting on his throne. Here I am giving accountability. Lots of people standing around. Here I am giving that awesome legacy that I was able to produce. Rod Hairston in the Healthy Mind and Body says, we all know we have a responsibility for what we focus on. We can't argue that. We all have a responsibility for what we focus on. What are you going to focus on? I actually found this. This is an event. It says celebration. And these are people being recognized. There's millionaires on my team that I didn't know that were on my team there, and people sharing their success stories. And I went ahead and changed the cycles to over 1,000 a week on each one. Still going into my bank account. There's Jim and Kathy Coover. Now they're not just looking at me. They're looking at people in my downline that are on my team that are being recognized as millionaires. Yeah, they're looking at me too because, I'm in the #1 position. Okay, this is not ego. That's not about ego for me. That's not about my personal recognition. It's about this, and this. I'm expanding my awareness of the capacity that I have to impact other people's lives. I'm not limiting myself. And so I've got a rank advance in be able to expand my belief and my ability to have that expansion in my life, that awareness. So here's what I wrote on the other side. Hi, Dave MacArthur. I'm a 13-star platinum in Isogenics. I have expanded my awareness, capacity, and impact by bringing more of who I am to the surface. Am I not bringing more of who I am and what I'm capable of by this? Absolutely. It's a direct measuring stick. My income is in this business, my income is a direct measuring stick of who I'm being and the impact that I'm making. And so I have to bring more of myself out, right? I have to believe in myself on a higher level. I have to believe and trust in God on a higher level that he's going to take care of the how. So I'm bringing more of who I am to the surface. And I set the goal to raise my conscious awareness, and I did it. It feels awesome. And I'm so grateful that this new quality of life and impact is now a habit, because it wasn't a habit when I first started reading this. It was a fantasy. It was my imagination. Okay? And I didn't have the habitual subconscious and conscious thoughts around living this kind of life. But here it's stating, I did it. I do now. It's now a habit. I still wake up every morning. I study and I grow. I eat. I work out and I show up every day and I stay engaged. This is not about something that's going to change me and make me different. I'm still Jenny on the block, right? So I'm still Dave that lives right here in St. George, Utah, and I still work out in the morning. I still eat, food. I still take a shower. I still brush my teeth. I still show up every day and trying to figure things out on a daily basis. I'm just doing it at a higher level now. Okay, it's habitual. We don't get super excited about the habitual things we do. They're just the mundane. We do them day after day. We brush our teeth every day. We don't get on Postbook and, yoo-hoo, I just brushed my teeth. And post and put pictures of us brushing our, that's a habit. We don't get excited about it. And when I'm living this life, the things that I'm doing on a daily basis will be a habit. When I first put them down, oh yeah, I'm excited about it because I'm just starting to conceptualize this whole idea of living life on another level. But the thing is that excitement wears off. It turns into the habits. What I do on a daily, the fundamental things that I do on a daily basis is what's going to lead to this. And they're not exciting after doing it for 2 or 3 months, making phone calls and talking to people and running into those that aren't as excited while I'm running into those that I'm attracted to. So it feels awesome. And I'm so grateful that this new quality of life and impact is now a habit. Okay. My teams, and then I wake up, I show up every day and looks like I'm having an issue. It keeps losing connection there. So my teams are rocking it. And I put rocking it in all caps with an exclamation point. My teams are rocking it. I so love and appreciate that I have 7-figure annual income earners in Isagenix. They're in the 7-figure club. Why did I put they're in the 7-figure club? Because when you make a 7-figure income annually, they give you one of these. 7-figure club. They have one of these hanging on their wall at home. I see it in their home. Okay? So they're rocking it. I so love and appreciate that I have 7-figure annual income earners in Isagenix. They're in the 7-figure club. I put that underlined and in parentheses. On all of my teams, on both of my first entry, left and right legs, and on my re-entry team, health, wealth, freedom, light, love, contribution, impact, exponentially. I did it! Woohoo! Connect with that every day. At first, it's not so easily accepted. But when you do something and you do it enough with enough enthusiasm, like a mantra, you do it long enough, what you focus on, you find. What you focus on grows. What you focus on starts to seem real. What you focus on long enough becomes real. That's the process for a creative being. We're all creative beings. We all have creative faculties. So I just want to finish with a couple things. So there's that card. That's the newest one. Did I leave anything off there? No, you saw all the pictures. And I shrunk them down. I'll show you how I did that for those that want to know how do you do that. Like anybody can do that with a computer and a printer, okay? And the internet. So here's a card that I'm working on right now. Okay, so this one, I have my scissors, my tape. Just go down to, I got this at Walmart. It's just packing tape. Here's my card. And these are things that I cut out that I printed up. So this one's going to be around the Mechanic to Millionaire podcast and the workshops that we do. So I cut them out. Here's the podcast logo. So I'll arrange them in a way that they're like this so that I can write things in, because I know things are going to come up just like they did on this one here. So I don't laminate the back. What I do is I take this tape, and I don't think I can do this and hold it. I need both hands. Let's see. Give me one sec while I tear a piece of the tape off. So I'm going to tear a piece off. That's a little bit bigger than the thing that I'm working with, the picture. And I'll take this big piece of tape and I'll stick it right in the middle. So there it is. Now I'll cut this tape out with just a big enough border for it to be able to stick onto the card and not take up the paper where I can write things in. Okay, that's just learning process. I used to tape the whole thing on the back. I like to write things in there. So then I would cut this out and I would put it where I wanted it, okay? And then I would take the other side and I'm gonna write out my affirmation, my mantra on this side. Now how do I, so what I'll do is I'll go over to the computer and I'll show you how, let's see if I can get this, turn this here. So what I would do is I just go into the internet. If you don't have these already set up, like this says Google Images, I can click on it. I would just go to google.com. When I'm there, there's a little tab right here that says Images. I don't want to just Google. That's just going to get me, websites and things that people have said, words. I want images. So I'm going to click on the images. And for me, one of the things that I had put on my 3x5 card, so I'll show you. This one's been on there for a couple years. And it's this size of an audience. lecturing in front of them. Check this out. I had a realization moment this morning of just how awesome vision boards are. So this is Mechanic to Millionaire. That's what this whole thing is about. And there's my Mechanic to Millionaire building that I'll have. There's the Nobel Prize. I didn't have a book yet, and I like tried several times, and I couldn't write a book. So I put it on my vision board. We now have a workbook, right? And this is a crowd that I get to talk to in front of about the principles that Mechanic to Millionaire teaches and the difference that it's going to make in people's lives. There's the contribution. Now there's a lot of people making contribution because they learned the principles that I taught them, that I facilitated. I didn't make up the principles. I just discovered them. So here's the crowd. Look at the size of that crowd. Let's see. My phone says mute. Can you guys still hear me? Can you guys still hear me? Somebody just... Okay, it looks... Okay, good. My phone just says mute on it. It must have hit the volume. There we go. Okay, so that's a huge crowd, right? When my company asked me to speak in front of 15,000 people, they asked me to speak on the why, which is all about what I'm sharing with you right now. At my company's event, that's about products and the wellness industry. I freaked out this morning when I'm like, wait a second. I knew that this was on my vision board and that was I was able to check it off, but they asked me to speak about this stuff, not about the products, right? And that's what I spoke. I had my vision book on stage with me. I had these on stage with me and I shared these in front of 15,000 people. This has been on my board for over 2 years, or on this card. How crazy is that, right? I just realized, wait a second, I did speak in front of 15,000 people and it was about this stuff. It's so awesome. So let's just say when I first started my dream book, I wanted to speak in front of people. So how big, so what I could do is I could put podium. I could just type in podium and there's a podium, right? So there's one right there. I like that one because it's like I'm standing behind the podium. So if I click on that, whoops, went too far. If I click on that little tiny picture, it blows it up. There it is. There's a podium that I'm standing behind. What I would do is I would open up my Word doc or Pages. I already have Pages open, so I'll just do that one. It's the same as Word. So there's my Pages. I move this over just a little bit so I can see my page. And I click on this and hold it down, and I drag it. Let's see. There it is, okay? So now there's the picture that I want that's going to go on. And if you're making an 8.5 by 11, you can just do this all day long without having to shrink it way down to fit on your 3x5 card. There's my podium, me standing behind. Now, how big of a dreamer am I? Well, in the beginning, it wasn't like it is now. So I could put something that would have fit my level of belief in myself at that time. Small audience. Okay, so there's a small group. Maybe it's just like this. Okay, if I look long enough, I could probably find one where I'm looking out from the audience or from the podium. But just for sakes, well, there's one right there. Let's do that one. Here's me in my blue blazer, which I have, in front of about 5 or 6 people. I'm just going to drag that in there. What am I sharing with them? The message that I've learned about health and wellness and freedom, financial freedom. Okay, so that's on my 8.5 by 11 now. What else do I want? You know, and maybe I could dream bigger and I could put large audience, like this one right here. Now I'm speaking in front of this type of a group because I've already done this 1,000 times. I'm good with that. I believe I could be bigger. I don't know how that's going to happen. I didn't know how this was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but it did, right? 15,000 people, that's a reality. So if you want to make them smaller so that they fit on the back of your 3x5 card, you'll have to play with it. You might have to print it up a couple times. I click on it and it's in transformation mode with these little squares. I just shrink them down. And I can put them there, and then I would print that up and cut it out with my scissors and then tape them to the back of my 3x5 cards. Okay, so you guys, that's Make sure you get the law of compensation into your 3x5 cards. It has to be there, and do it intentionally, like write it the way that you want it, so that when you got to the top of the ladder that you're wanting to climb and you've accomplished your goals, your ladder's leaned against the right wall. So that when you get to the top of the ladder, you're like, oh, wait, this wasn't what I wanted. Now, if you're connecting with your values and your virtues and your goal, the core of who you are, who you want to be, you'll align with the right things that will give you the enthusiasm, but finish it off. Be detailed, specifics, Bob. Get as detailed. It's a clearly defined, definite purpose. Be definitive with it. And be just definitive with it as you can for right now, but that will grow. Like I wrote in the success stories and the 7-figure income earners. That will grow, and it'll do it pretty naturally. Be aware of that. Be aware of those thoughts that come. They're not your own. It's that infinite intelligence, that communication system that's trying to give you the next step. Don't be like the big corporations that didn't learn how to fly first. Be like the Wright brothers, humble, aware, and know that there's a higher power that's going to guide you along exactly with what you need to get to that next step. Let me just make sure there wasn't anything else. Oh, there is one more thing. I'll share this. This is kind of a deeper level of understanding. Bob Proctor shared it on a video on YouTube. What we're doing by doing these cards, we're setting up our vibration. Our thoughts create our feelings, and our feelings dictate our actions and how we see the world. Okay? And we do that long enough. That's like the whole focus on, what you focus on, you find. So thoughts create the feelings, feelings create the actions. We're the only living creatures that can dictate what that is. The animal kingdom, they run off of instinct. They cannot creatively, with the mental faculties, come up with changing who they want to have, do, and be. In fact, instinct will help an animal to survive when it's first born. Look at how a calf is born. It doesn't take very long and it's walking around and it can start eating the grass, right? And it can survive. What about when a baby's born? A baby, if it's left on its own, there are no instincts that will help it to survive. It will die if it's left on its own. It's a creative being. It hasn't yet created what it's going to be yet. There's a paradigm that's going to be created in that new baby through its upbringing and its environment and what it's exposed to, what the baby's exposed to. A conscious creator will recognize that, man, I learned some things that were wrong. I learned some things that were literally lies. They're false, and I took them on as a belief. And that is a vibration. Thoughts, feelings, and actions. So we can change that and intentionally change it with whatever we want. Anything is possible. So something Bob said was, everything vibrates. The earth is vibrating. And so we call it dirt, right? But it has a vibrational frequency. That's what makes it the substance that it is. And that substance we call dirt. It's not really dirt. It's a certain vibrational arrangement that makes it to be in that, the manner that it is physically. And he says, take a tree. Okay, so the tree is a certain vibration. It's arranged in a certain vibrational frequency. Atoms align in a certain way and it grows. And we just give it the name of tree. It's not a tree. It's a vibrational frequency that makes it the structure that it is. The density, all of that. We can change the vibration of a tree and turn it into something else. It's called paper. We rearrange those molecules through the process of creating paper. It's not paper, it's a vibration that makes it the consistency that it is. This paper has a vibration to it. We call it paper, but it's not paper. It's not the word. That's the word we give it for that vibrational frequency. We can rearrange that even more and turn it into a book of different thickness. The cover's a different thickness. But we call it a book, but it's not a book. It's an arrangement of different vibrations that gives it the textures and the coarseness and the thickness and whatever it is. Everything is constantly in a state of change. We're the only living creatures, because we're divine offspring of God, giving these mental faculties, these divine mental creative faculties,
that could just decide at any point, hey, I don't like the consistency and the thickness and the coarseness that I am right now. I'm just going to go ahead and change up that vibration. I'm going to rearrange that vibration by arranging my thoughts and my feelings. When you get to the feelings and they consistently happen, you know that you've rearranged the vibration. And that vibration is like a magnet. It harmonizes with other things that are vibrating at that level. So I just happened to pick out, I gave you pictures and words, but really it's a frequency. It's a frequency that was created through the fantasy that I theorized in my mind, and like Van Gogh, I put it down on paper. I visualized my dream, and then I painted my dream. It just starts to materialize, you guys. It's the most amazing thing. So I hope that this helps you to really understand a little bit more on how to build a law of compensation in, and how to tie that together with your house, your vacation, your car, the things that you deserve, and that it's not selfish. There's so much abundance. You could scoop as much as you want. You could have as many homes and many islands as you want, and there's still enough for everybody else, because you can't take from the infinite more than your share. So just believe in yourself. I believe in you. That's why I'm sharing this with you. I know that there are people on all different levels that you're literally going to do this, and you're going to do it to a higher level now, and things are going to start to show up in your life. These divine doors are going to be open. Thank God for them, because it's His universe, and He's woven that in to the fabric of this universe. All right? So thanks, you guys. This will be in recorded mode. I'm just going to hit finish now. I'll let a few people just type in a few more things and enjoy reading what you have to say. And you guys, let's do this. Let's rock it. All right? You got it. You got this. Awesome, you guys. All right, I'm going to publish it.